I mean, you mentioned earlier that the past year's had its challenges. Is it not true, do you not think, that your predecessor, Nicola Sturgeon, suspected what was coming down the road and left whoever came after her, it turned out to be yourself, to clear up that mess?
Well, look, Nicola did an exceptional job as First Minister and as party leader, took us to new heights in terms of our own polling and election victories. So I've got a lot of time, respect and affection for Nicola for what she's done. When it comes to the party, I'm very proud of the successes of the last year. 100,000 children estimated lifted out of poverty. Just last month, statistics showing that we've got private sector growth that is better than any other nation or region in the UK here in Scotland. Second highest number of people on the payroll, HMRC stats, over the last year. There's lots that I can point to, and continued investment in the NHS, which means that we've not lost a single day of the NHS activity to strike action, the only country in the UK to have done that. There's lots that I can point to in terms of our record. So while you and others might focus on the challenges, and you've got every right to do so, what I point to, and I'll continue to point to over the course of my time as First Minister, is the successes of this government, which mean, in stark contrast to the UK, we've got investment in public services, as opposed to what we're seeing south of the border, which is public services being cut to the bone.
But for all of those things you mentioned, there's negatives showing that Scotland's going in the opposite direction. I think there were poverty stats out, child poverty stats out last week that showed that poverty among children was up in Scotland in the last year. I mean, education standards are slipping, PISA scores are bad, and the NHS is in an absolute state. I mean, that's not just your legacy and your record, but it's Nicola Sturgeon's legacy, it's the SNP's legacy.
So let's just take each of those. So the poverty stats obviously don't take into account the latest rise in the Scottish Child Payment, which will be the absolute game changer when it comes to those 100,000 that will be lifted out of relative poverty. So the stats that we'll get next year will demonstrate, I believe, that
You've had 17 years to solve these problems, though.
Yes, but we've had 14 years of austerity from a government we didn't vote for. We have a Brexit we didn't vote for, which is an unmitigated economic disaster. And we had a Westminster cost of living crisis that tanked the economy, crashed the pound, and wiped billions off the economy. These are headwinds that have come our way. And when it comes to poverty, for example, shows that, again, Scotland's relative poverty rate, child poverty rate, is lower than other parts of the United Kingdom. Let's look at education, you mentioned there as well. Well, under my leadership as First Minister, I've seen record numbers of young people going into positive destinations. And you talked about the NHS, which of course still has its challenges because it's recovering from the pandemic. But we're seeing more people, for example, when it comes to our cancer waiting times, we're seeing more people than we did pre-COVID, seeing more young people in terms of CAMS, reducing those waiting lists, and making progress in terms of the NHS as well. So each of these issues, yes, there's challenges, but I could also point to where we're making progress in the face of exceptionally strong headwinds.